critical to our true identity and digital exchange. So quantity and quality, all of these things determine the influence that we have over the market, over the people, because in the digital dominion, we have the citizens, we have the companies, we have the media companies, and we also have the states that are competing against each other. And what determines is not only the nature of the media that we share, but also the content, so that we can be influent enough to be able to attract attention internationally and get financing and attract projects for development. So this is what I had to say about this relationship between content and digital media. Now I have a few references with on the scope of what has to be done, not only to the entrepreneur, to the citizens, and to the companies, but also to the states, in the case African states or Angola. It is necessary for us in our country that we are able to give artistic abilities that could evolve the children very early, so that we can be able to artistically produce in an attractive manner, attractive content for the sharing through digital media. It's important to also be up to date with the new forms of technology and communication. So this is the experience that the world is doing. The children start to learn code, programming code very early. They learn how to draw media content. They learn how to consume media content from an early stage. So it's important that our youth and that the people in the younger phases can receive this capability and this familiarity, so that they can gain the competencies that are related to digital inclusion. It's important to also improve content production through producers or production companies. It's important to invest in this because it defines the paradigm of the new economy. The states are growing their economies through the means of development in the digital space. In the case of Angola, I also think that it is important that we create more content, and we create the conditions for more content creation, and then all the producers and all the academies, the journalists, entrepreneurs and citizens have to be steered towards creating greater content to influence the state culturally and build people digitally, and build the institutions and the media, and in all camps, in the international camps. Thank you so much. This is all I had to contribute. Thank you so much, Dr. Herculano Coroado. As you've observed, our second orator has arrived. He does not bring a communication, but he will bring us his experience as CEO of Platina Line, the media company, and he will also speak about the importance of digital media and also the content that Platina Line produces. And this is obviously a very valuable experience, and it's a new reality in our country, and Platina Line is a pioneer in this exercise. With us is Mr. Sarchel. You're welcome. We also want to hear from you, your experience, and the audience would really like for you to share with us. Good afternoon, Geraldo and Herculano. We are a case study of what Herculano have just presented. The media company Platina Line has been really a pioneer in the digital space, and that was around 2008, 2010, where we already had some digital means, but the new way of communication in Angola was truly implemented when we played our part as pioneers, and we've been also pioneers in a new era in the case of what Herculano has presented, which is the visual radio, where nowadays we are able to issue our content through our radio 24 hours a day, and the people can consume our content in their cars, on their phone, and at the same time, if they want to have a visual experience, they just have to connect to an app or YouTube, and they're able to see everything that we do on the visual side of things. Truly, content in the new era is essential, because the digital media cannot survive without content. Content is everything. And that's why the big players of the market, such as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and many others, they present this content in a supposedly free manner, where you are the main audience, but actually you're there producing content for them, and somehow somebody pays for that, and those are the big companies who pay for those content. Our daily our daily activities and our we understood that we had to create content since 2010, and we've been with this project since then. We've been creating content in the video space, and during the COVID, when it seemed like it was a new thing that was being implemented, we were already structured to present the video side. We were using a small camera of $400, and in that, and I was saw that video of this gentleman making this announcement that video would be great in the content space. And obviously during the COVID era, we were able to attest through our project that we did live at home with the public television of Angola, where we broadcasted live, and we were able to give the voice to those artists who have been restricted by COVID. And then we formed a cooperative or corporation that could communicate to the the citizens. So the government has also used us as a form to communicate. That wasn't broadcasted by Platina Line. And we began with that with the first change of power, when the president changed from Eduardo dos Santos to João Lourenço, and we were able to broadcast the whole process of election, and we also presented a new model for the medias, which had a big vacuum possible by creating different content, whether on internet, whether on radio, wherever. And we were also able to create new concepts to be able to innovate and bring a different market. To, and for us to be able to do that, we create the award of tourism startup, which is steered towards developing startups and intelligent institutions to be able to develop tourism in Angola. We also create an award show that awards Angolan excellency, that's through Angolan literature and excellence, and also social responsibilities for those companies that work towards helping the development and giving a new lens to the communities, and also giving highlight to all the good deeds of the citizens that they have done for Angola. We also got these entities such as great sportsmen and people with great reputation that have partook, and we are celebrating 3 years of existence, and we've been looking to innovate in all the content because we believe it is impactful, especially digital content. It's impactful because it's one of those means where the interaction is immediate. There's a case that I always like to speak about, which is when the Singapore to Portuguese went to an interview at ZAP, and he spoke about some things about his personal life, and he thought he could say what he wanted because there wasn't the immediate reaction of the public. But then Platina posted that and brought greater consequences to what he spoke about. The funny thing is that when he called me, he said, I said all of that on the TV, I didn't say it on the internet. And then I was like, hey, we are not responsible for what you say. The only difference is that on the internet, you have the immediate reaction of the public, and you have to know how to deal with this from now going forward. So this is one of those things that we need to learn, that the interaction brings a newer form of content. So one of the things that I've learned through this years of existence of Platina is that good content will always be more important and more relevant than the new wave of fake news where people can just take a phone and create any content. So we always need to innovate, and we need to invest in excellent content so that we can be credible, so that we can be respected, and so that we may be able to generate revenue for our businesses. Because there's a lot of people that say, I'm not able to make money from my business. Why? It's simple. It's because the act of earning money or attracting revenue for your business has a lot to do with a simple factor, which is credibility. Way before you get a great audience and popularity of your content, when you're not credible, big companies or any marketing director that sees your content, he will not place your content in a place where it is not credible or impactful. So credibility is the most important thing that is for us to be able to filter. Because if we do not have this filter, we will always be accustoming people to go back to traditional media, to go back to TV, TPA, or go to the National Radio of Angola Journal at 1 p.m., or even go back to Angop, which is also a public medium where the information is given to authentify the credibility of certain information that's been spurred out. So we see that there's a great that it is a reality that the professionals need to adapt to, because nowadays with AI, like Herculano said, we only have 20 employees working for me. Maybe I could only need to have 2 or 1 to give instructions to AI to create the same content, even sometimes for storyboard creation or photography. Imagine having a robot to whom you can give the raw footage to, and then he will use the data that he has to edit a video in a way that you instructed it without needing an editor. This is the future. And evermore we have to be very attentive so that we can be able to see what reality reflects. Now let us go to Herculano. Thank you, Sarchel. Is it very difficult to create content in the digital media? Is it difficult? Well, there's always an effort that has to be made for us to be able to create content that is valuable. And there's also the necessity to have the abilities to be able to use the latest technologies and be able to frame yourself in the new content. The idea of digital trends, it's about you running after these trends and also the trends of the audiences, because we are running after the audience. And in many times the audience moves. Sometimes they're on Facebook, sometimes they're on Instagram. And for us, the issues of communication, we need to be able to penetrate the audience, for us to be able to stick the message and spread influence and exercise our role. So this is a space where we need to have the minimum of the technique and the technology. Also wanted to give a remark to this aspect. Yes, it is difficult, and Herculano said very well. Digital is very complex. Those are very different media. The content that is popular and is successful on Facebook is not the same one that is successful on Instagram, because they are different public, or it doesn't even reflect on TikTok the same way. So on the daily basis, we look to communicate differently to the different media platforms, and this is not easy. They say that to play simple is always better, but then the issue is there. How do we play in a easy way? How do we play in a simple way? It's difficult because there's a lot of technology, and the technology is always being articulated, but sometimes the dispersion doesn't work. Therefore, you are not able to pinpoint what generates traffic. And there's also the component of the algorithm, which is a component of technology that the platforms used to be able to filter what contents need to be popular or not. The better you are at catching an individual to stick to a platform for a content that he enjoys, the algorithm will give that same content to more people. So even to please the algorithm is a bit complicated. So the focus of connectivity to all of us is something that's with all of us, because the first thing that we do is when we wake up in the morning, we look at our phones to see if we receive our messages. So this is the truth. We all have a look. This impact that the content brings is that we all need to reflect and to also place our questions. The floor is open for anyone who has any questions to pose to our orators. You may stand up and make a question. I don't know if there's someone in the audience that has a question to make. Is there anyone? Well, then we will continue here, but Sarshel, some would say that during the COVID period, it was a time where people mostly consumed internet content. Is this true or is this a lie? Because Angola, or better, the whole world was confined at home, and the whole world had to be at home. But but happily there were content, they were attracting more people, and some people may have made more money during COVID. Clearly, it was a golden time for us. We were prepared for the effect, and we were already producing a lot of content, and also us having the ability of making live content. It also helped us in the space. There's also the issue of the internet, where we want to completely prepared for everything, and we suffered a little bit, but then later on things began to flow, and almost everyone was producing. Even those that weren't producing content and weren't in the internet space, content creation, would pick up their phone and make a live and end up speaking with their friends. Therefore, it was a moment of discovery of new talents of people, and I think that in Angola it was well consumed, and outside as well there was a greater consumption of internet traffic in comparison to the previous years. Now with Herculano, who is more linked to TV and radio as a professional, we could also understand that the radio and TV also suffered the impact of the digital incident. There was also a greater motive to go from the analog to digital space, isn't that so? Well, truly, when all of this began through COVID, we were prepared, and we went and helped the government to have that space of COVID by feeding real-time content through the internet. It was our company who did that, and we helped because the physical efforts were not possible as they were registered before COVID. So there was a need to create newer conditions in order to make communication flow so that the country could flow in communication. So there was a greater need for digital content, and we were part of this process. Audience, does anyone have a question? Whoever's there, please identify yourself and place your question to our orators. Please hand in the microphone if necessary. Here in front, please. For the meanwhile, I'll say to Charchel, internet is also a two-edged sword for the good and for the bad. But we will leave that for later. Good afternoon, orators. I am Sergio Manuel, and I paid attention to the topic of ChatGPT, especially when Sarchel said that he had 20 or he had more employees, but uh, the trend is that the number of workers will reduce because of the work of AI. For those people who became stronger in the creation of content and are very solicited by the media work and are losing their space of technology, what could be the best way for them to adapt to the reality? Well, you have to dominate AI. It's the best way for you to fight this. How? You have to present yourself as a specialist of how to use this AI, ChatGPT, for anyone who wants to use it. This ChatGPT already creates text for those who create text or copywriting for selling. Let's say, for example, you're a car vendor. You already have this way of doing it briefly on ChatGPT. So how can you get ahead in a market like this? You need to be able to maneuver the machine. Well, how do these things work? Well, nobody's more intelligent than the human being, right? So the ChatGPT will not be able to respond to questions that only you can answer. But ChatGPT is really advanced in this sense. So in the future, with regards to this, what can we say is that it is based on the content that's on the internet, and there's a lot of content on the internet that is fake. And what will happen is that in many situations, when ChatGPT could get information for you, but could garner up the mistakes that are found on the internet. Therefore, you get a space where you can come and correct these things and present yourself as an expert. You could dominate the space by training people on how to use ChatGPT, or you could create this content using ChatGPT. For example, if you use if you want to create content or whatever, you could use the platform to manage the work that you want to do in future. Anybody else? Oh, there's someone who wants to talk. Please hand in the microphone. Good afternoon. I am Mr. Andrade. I did not know anything about your platform, but I'm already following. But that's not the issue. The issue is as follows. I observe many of the interactions of a few profiles, and I could observe that in um, Platina, where you have 1.5 million followers, but the interaction in the profile is very low. And this happens to a lot of platforms. The question is as follows: do you think it's worth the paid media so that people can access these services, or am I throwing money away? You throwing money away for a simple thing, right? When it comes to interaction, as far as science and the studies say, is that it should be about 10% of what your profile is, and you will not always be able to distribute it in the same way. In the case of Latina, we are leaders in Angola, and we have a greater pressure to be able to put all the content that the Angolans want to see on Platina. We could do it in two ways: be less patriotic and be say, oh no, this doesn't go through, we don't want this content. Or we could be sensationalists, where we're only trying to put polemic work in our media. So what happens is that it happens that when I post, the reader will have lesser content, because I am trying to post everything, because I want my content to have at least 10 likes per content. Or should I be a national person and be like, let me give the space to all these young men who's a shoe shiner and he needs space and to be seen on our platform? Or this person that is a musician that would like to have his music posted in Platina, and maybe I could just say, oh no, stop, I cannot filter you through, you need to make more money for you to be able to be on my platform. And I, I think that this isn't the right way. In our platform, sometimes it's a distribution of what one single post could look like in various posts. So it's an interaction within the pattern. So we have 1.5 interactions as a mean for our product. So we see that at least for each one of our followers, we have minimum interaction, and that for us is good enough. In the case of Instagram, for example, in our Instagram profile, it's more followed. Like I as Arshella, I'm a big fan of Beyonce, and I'm always following her, but I'm never putting likes on the content. It's the case of many followers of Platina, where they like the content and they don't put no likes and they don't comment. But then there's also another indicator of interaction and exchange or reach of the content, where you understand that the reach is very high, where you reach the average of your followers. If you go to Facebook, where the content is free, or per se Facebook zero, you notice that the interaction is higher. So in many cases, what happens with the interactions, if you violated some content and maybe people don't notice, but it does happen. For example, on Facebook, there's a policy for suicide communication, and Facebook punishes you, and your content will not be able to be viral on their platform, because you have violated a rule, and Facebook is punishing you, giving your content to lesser and lesser people. But then there's the issue of paying for that content to be given, where it will place your content in front of people who don't want to see your content. And to many people, they notice that, hey, they seeing a page that they're not following, and it's just because you paid for the ad, and they might dislike this. So the best choice is to create good and great content where everybody will be there, they will see it. And the page versus a page where they're sponsoring content and it has over 4 million followers, but it's not really reaching anybody. Especially for people who sell products, it's important for them to have faithful followers, because sometimes even the 100 followers or 500 followers could result in sales, and greater than the one that you could get from these bot promotions. Because the viewer seeing a bot ad is not a faithful follower for you. I can give an example. Many people have the interest in the figures that are involved in the media. For example, Platina Line works with content related to popular figures, artists, musicians, these people attract the attention of a vast audience. But we've seen a few years ago that there was an interest by a church to put the content on Platina Line, and I believe that it didn't go very well because the audience was not waiting for those religious content on that platform. That has been the experience. For example, I had the experience where we made a conference with the first lady. We did the transmission of this conference where the first lady was there and the governor of the National Bank of Angola, which is also now the Minister of State, and also the Minister of Finances, where we saw we took the content, right, we took a piece from all the content and we placed it on YouTube, and what we had was the following. The governor of the National Bank of Angola, who is an official and deals with economic expertise, had the worst rating. He saw that and he got very and he got to know that a lot of people did not find the content interesting. And then we also saw the first lady's ratings, which were higher than the governor. And then the Minister of Finances also was seen also with a higher percentage. So I don't know exactly why that happened, but I also had events where the Minister of Finances was present, but everybody, all the youth wanted to take pictures with that figure, as if she was a pop star. So that's also been an experience, the attention that these certain figures gone up. I don't know if there's any other question, but anyway, Herculano and Sarshal, is it necessary that everyone modernizes themselves technologically because the future is around the corner? Absolutely. Gaining competencies in these cores is important because with the basis on this, the economies will grow and will win. Angola should not be an exception to this rule. So it is important for our youth to be introduced early on to the creativity in the production of content, the quality in the production of content with the use of the new resources like phones, tablets, and all these available resources. But it's also important for them to understand the importance of digital media. This will power the new economic digital age. So this is all we need to generate new employment, new business for our country. Is it necessary, Sarshel, for us to modernize in the technology? Yes, in all aspects. In local media and our public media should adapt to the new trends in which the world should better and be more present digitally. And we've been working on this slowly, but we are going well. I believe that this should be the future. And I also want to challenge us to creating a platform of transparency that shows us what's happening at the governing level. And this is part of the digital revolution. And there's no way to avoid this because the future is technological and we can be able to contribute to this reality. Dear friends, participants of this meeting, I don't know if anybody else has a question because the time is already tight for us and we are now saying goodbye in the sense of leaving a message that connectivity is necessary for everybody that likes the digital. And I believe that in this room there is no hater. I believe everybody likes, but the issue here is not only to like. We need to create good content. We need to attract more people. And Geraldo, if you allow me, back to the theme of modernization. Radio was the queen mean of communication, and they were always saying that radio was gonna die earlier, but the world has been showing us that it will not die. Bill Gates has said that the radio will announce that the internet has died. So we've seen how the radio has been modernized, where the radio became podcast. Facebook has now audio, and WhatsApp also has audio, even on the WhatsApp status. So therefore, you can see that radio keeps transforming, and modernization always has to be attentive to the technology. Thank you so much for being here. I believe that everything's been said. Our time has ended, and thank you for having time. And we hope to be you next time. And Angotic continues, and I believe that other classes also invite us to partake in other sessions. Once again, be with us in this new technological world. Thank you.
Yeah, Eba.
What challenges do you see for Africa and for Angola in particular? The the challenges for mobile payments. We apologize, we cannot hear what the speaker is saying. Uh, we apologize, we cannot hear what Dr. Paula is saying. We apologize for the inconvenience. Now it's better. As I was saying, at Africa, one of the biggest problems for the implementation of mobile payment has to do with financial education. It's difficult to change the habits of the conventional bank where many users are used to a mobile money that has a more informal tendency. When dealing, when understanding how my money is going to turn to digital, how am I going to trust in an agent, in an amount that is not a credible institution, that has not having a structure like the conventional banks, to convey the first phase, to go on digitalization, so that we go for payment and transfer, has been the biggest challenge, because it's here where the operators of mobile payment have to make in an extra effort, make sure people understand what is digital payment, and from the understanding build this connection of trust. Trust me, trust my institution, that will be available from cell phone and can make payments. The biggest challenge that I can foresee is financial education, the issue on trust, how we can transform population that never had access to no financial service, to no banking services, to this part, this issue of these are reduced. All local shops, all people that have small businesses become agent Unitel money, agents of mobile payment. Too easy the deposits and withdrawal of money. They get commission. This is another business that will bring benefits to his own business, to his shops where he's selling his product. It's another business in those populations, build trust and allow for people to pay with their money. What they're buying at their shop, they can withdraw money for other purpose or deposit money. I would say the risk has to do with education. but the advantages overcome the disadvantages. But we have to show people these type of tools make their life easier, but they have to keep their secrets to themselves. This is the main factor for this to work. I know it's not easy given the level of non-literacy of our people. I would go to Dr. David, which is one of the person that promotes mobile payment. Dr. David, what lessons do you bring us from the rest of Africa, since you also bring some experience from a long time? What lessons can you give us? How has your experience been? Muito obrigado.
Okay, so I'm from Nigeria, and so far we are kind of the one playing one of the biggest in this mobile payment system. As my fellow speakers rightly said, major risks that is actually attached towards this mobile payment. Number one is since we are adopting a new technology, it's very important to note the fact that there is going to be cyber threats with this adoption of new technology. As she rightfully said, first thing first is to recommend people to you educate them on keeping their sensitive information private to themselves. Other than that, there are people that will still want to leverage on this new beautiful idea to then still rob people of their money. So one thing I would recommend also to fintechs and solution provider is they should tighten their security, because that's Momo, which is the mobile agency platform for MTN. They recorded over 2 billion loss in just close to 12 to 18 months of operation. That's a real big numbers for a new product that they are putting out into the market. So one of the major things that they did wrongly was the fact that they rushed the product into the market without ensuring tight security was in place. So now they have to go and do the proper homework. So if any fintech or any solution provider wants to board into this space, one of the major things to look out for is cyber security. You need to oh, sorry. Okay, is it better now?
Yeah.
Oh, so sorry about that. Okay, so in summary, what I was talking about was cybersecurity. It's a very, very key factor that should be put into place when, as a fintech provider or a solution provider. Secondly, as regards the rural area and adopting this new mobile payment and whatnot, one of the major benefits that mobile money comes to solve is a cashless policy, and it enables those are traders, the farmers, people in the rural areas. It enables them to do business more in a faster way and also in a more secured way. So say for example now we have the likes of Momo. Momo is the one currently leading in Africa. That's sorry, not Momo, M-Pesa, that's in Kenya as we speak right now. So basically, I was in Kenya, that's Nairobi, I think a couple of months back, and it was so fascinating to be able to come as an outsider, enter the country, get a Safaricom SIM card on the spot, and the next thing they said, oh, you have a bank account. At first I was like, oh, is this possible? Then with time, they said, okay, take the money, fund the wallets, and all of a sudden I'm going to food, I'm going to take Bolt, Uber, cut across every ecosystem. Everybody, they will just ask for, oh, what's your M-Pesa number? And boom, I was able to carry out transaction. So these are one thing that I'll point out in the M-Pesa model is the fact that it's the usability. They put the user in mind while trying to build that product. So they made it so easy. So it also enables, it makes the financial literacy part easy also for let me call them the rural guys. Because basically it's just dial a code or go to the SIM card settings and do your transaction easily, compared to having to download the bank, having to operate with different levels of operability. So another major thing that should be focused on is the fact that whenever they are building any product in this mobile payment system, it's meant to be built for the users. So we have to put ourselves in the user's perspective and see, oh, if I'm a user, I want to use this product. What are the major things I need to do with this product? From there, that's where the building now starts from. Don't let me take much time. I would post here. All right.
Ouvimos aqui falar de regras.
We have heard on rules, incentives. I will take now the opportunity of Dr. Vito Rodrigues from a central bank. What are indeed the incentives that the central bank has been creating? First, for financial literacy. Number two, for the platform of all infrastructure that will cover all these regulations. And number three, what has to do with the control of the operators, what at the level of central bank has been doing. Good afternoon. Just to say that the central bank has a great interest in modernizations the payment system and has as important pillars the objectives of the public interest, which is the fiability of the operation, security, transparency, and these four pillars are those ones that the central bank take in order to move to the market and start modernizing the payment system. So talking about mobile payment system, so the central bank has this is a tool that will bring benefits to the user for their payment. So by that, the central bank try to passes acts and legislation that makes all these operations secure, efficient for the final user. So, on the other hand, the central bank has been facilitating all these mobile payment market moved essentially by reviewing all legislation as well as all other complementary laws for the mobile payment. In parallel, the one that has been revised and approved by the National Assembly on the November 16 of 2021, the law 14/20, which regulate all payment system as well as all stakeholders involved on the payment system. However, central bank has been promoting security and try to define what are stakeholders that are involved, how they could start playing, how the rules are directed for mobile payment which takes place in any part of the market without any concern. I will ask Dr. Antonietta. I have been watching a phenomenon when people go to the market, when you don't have cash, there are people with ATMs. Okay, if you want withdraw 10,000, you have to pay 1,000 kwanza. 10,000, you pay 1,000. I mean, 1,000 per 100 kwanza. So we see here's an opportunity, but this is a practice that everybody has been taking. So what do you have to tell us? Unfortunately, it's true. So we go to Unitel Money or many other providers because they have the low rates in comparison to those ones. On the other hand, it is also the risk of knowledge. They do not have enough knowledge that they are available for a telephone. Or while there is no this trust, this security in this kind of functionality, they go to ATM, as you have seen, despite of going queuing on the ATM, so they pay this rate. It is also regulated by the central bank. But in the case of mobile money, it's a little bit more cheap. That is, of course, a great opportunity for more and more this type of solution to be adopted, whether in formal or informal market. All of us, we may be the catalyst for the informal economy because most of the time we are close to the informal market, whether with people that are around us on a daily basis. We banking people to help these people to raise awareness on the literacy, to say that the costs are a little bit more reduced, not following this solution. So to say there is market for this type of solution. Every day we see in the ATM, not only Rwanda, in many other part of the provinces, we have a very long queue. Sometimes there is no capacity of a banking system or mobile payment systems available to pay. We have been improving for 17,000 clients throughout the country. So that's why we have the main difficulties that the client has been using. So it promotes sending money, promote the payment, purchasing the hair time, and so no doubt this is one of the key factors that we have been trying to educate the people. We have been going to the market to tell them there is many other ways to obtain money without incurring to this very high rate. I will now ask to Dr. Katja what challenges and the strategies that this education, taking account the level of literacy of our population, how should we be able to go around in terms of strategy in order to make that these informations reach the people? So I have mentioned the characteristic of our population.
Ponto que o meu colega panelista levantou, que é como o M-Pesa no Quênia conseguiu entrar naquilo que é a rotina das pessoas. Basicamente, eles venderam um slogan que foi manda dinheiro para casa, que foi necessariamente aquilo que era o que acontecia. As pessoas que estavam nas cidades.
They are in the cities working and they're able to take these rural one of the way to as an operator of mobile mine to get the people is try to enter on the daily basis. What in a daily basis does I pay school fee, I pay taxi, water, light? If I enter on the dynamic of daily basis and show the advantages, in spite of giving money, I can transfer or pay directly, then I have the services restored. I can pay mobile ATM, electricity. I can pay huge services that could be paid from mobile money. I think one of the key strategies to be able to understand the people language and to show them the advantages of daily basis. Mobile money for me is very productive. Maybe for Angola market is quite different. So we need to have a case study for specific for this market. For those people that daily basis, let me try today to take a tax and pay with free money. Let me try today do this transaction from this mobile money. If you have the opportunity to have the first experience with success, of course, it will bring trust. I had the support in the first transaction, but then people will start being comfortable. I got the first one, the second will be much more easier. So the other question that Dr. Antoniette has raised is having above these the trust. We also have do exist the banking sector, which is a little bit more tired. If
the people are able to get this first access and see where are the agent of mobile money operators. May I trust if a central bank has been conducting the crucial role, which is adopting the minimum requirement of ensuring that those people are there operating and can convey the trust of the operator. If I see on my bus stop is an agent, one day we'll be there, we'll try. So by trying, we'll be able to know these services. I'm not leaving behind the campaigns of awareness campaigns. So we need to look what is the behavior of the Angolan citizen to see where this Angolan citizen will see the advantage of what the mobile money bring. Just to conclude before going to the question and answer session, I will ask Dr. David the growth in sub-Saharan development from 2011-2017 moved from 2 to 12%. But in Central Africa, the growth is bigger in a country like Nigeria. Could you please give us one more detail why this phenomenon is faster in Central Africa than sub-Saharan one?
So, as at the last census that was carried out in Nigeria, Nigeria currently holds the largest number of population, that's over 200 million. So whether we like it or not, that actually plays a bigger role in why we have AI and increasing number of, let's say, the tech adoption, generally the mobile payment, and also the growth of financial services in Nigeria. I did a little research and I saw that Angola, they are roughly around 31.4 million. That's just the number of a single state, Lagos State, which is the overpopulated state in Nigeria. So this actually plays, number one, a very big important role. But then number two now, on the global scale, we are already seeing an oversaturated market in Nigeria. We are seeing, because first of all, when the birth of the old tech and financial services and tech popped into Nigeria, we saw a massive move of investment from both foreign and local investors into the country. But now we're already getting into the stage where there is already, the market's ecosystem is already being oversaturated, and people, including myself, were already looking outside. Since we've already built this solid model, we've done it over years from, I think, InterSwitch, which was one of the first, started roughly around 2006 to 2008. So we've tried out different experiments, different models, different approach. We already have multiple use cases cut across both the rural and the urban area. So now the next thing we're seeing in the next few months or years is replicating this kind of models in countries, in neighboring African countries like Angola, for example. So it's a beautiful thing actually to be able to ride on an existing model, but then still tailor it to fit in, like I mentioned earlier, product fit for the current use base, that's for the Angola market. Thank you.
Finally, I go and ask to Dr. David. Fraud in electronic system has been increasing. What central bank has been doing with the operators in order to mitigate this increased number of fraud on the payment, whether ATM or mobile phone transactions? On the central bank perspective, central bank first tried to launch a financial awareness campaign for all users of mobile payment, as well as many other platforms. The correct use of this means, and then central bank works with partners in order to disseminate this information, and on the other side, central bank also try to make that the rules should be clear in order to mitigate this issue of fraud and the saving. So central bank promote with the financial partners in order to have technological means safe in order to serve as intermediate means for the financial information that grows in order to avoid be attacked through legislation. So central bank tried to define the necessary requirement and minimum in order to make all financial players to have technological means that will allow to transact efficiently and safely, mainly with all transparency in order to have the final client all necessary information in order to make transactions with safety or safely. And additionally, or mobile payment, central bank having the strategic objective to monitor the mobile payment system, go for the interoperability of payment systems in order to make all the final client to pay from one service of payment to another payment service. For example, one client from Unitel Money be able to make a payment that goes to the client of eKwanza Buy. And this is a very important issue for central bank in order to take all benefits from this mobile payment, because one of the key objectives of central bank is financial inclusion. So we have been doing this approach from our speakers. Plus, let's now open the mic for the audience. If you have any question, please feel free to hands up and then have the mic.
Eu tenho 4 perguntas.
I have 4 questions. One is specific, especially for the Unitel money, and the others are in general or generic. I'll start with the generic one first. We spoke quite a lot about the importance on the literacy importance, financial literacy. What is the focus of each institution that is in this room? Mostly the domestic one has been doing, and not only in the marketing campaign or on the social media advertisements. I especially focus on the awareness campaign, mostly at schools, mostly the secondary and primary schools. Number 2, what is the approach on the Unitel money, Afri money, as well as the central bank on the open banking? Is there any perspective on the usage of API to be used by other people like me, like to start a service on your platforms? Number 3, the mobile money, is mobile money a solution, the adequate solution to bring more people on the banking, on the network banking? Or why do I ask? Because it's very difficult to educate people than just to use their usual habits. Isn't it more adequate, like, to use what they've been doing already, like to use their tools, their usual tools, instead of bringing in like a new technology like the USSB, just as we've been doing? And lastly, this is for Unitel money, because I'm the early adopter. I've made a lot of tests on the platform. I wrote 2 articles, and later on I will share it with Miss Antonietta. It's my LinkedIn already. And what I realized is Unitel money. I know that it's a new product. There is a VIP, IVP that, and there are some things to be improved still, but there are issues that I could not even tolerate because it's Unitel. But what bothered me a lot is the rates, like the withdrawal rates and transference and transaction rates. I tested the two of them just to have an idea. For you to withdraw 2,000 kwanzas, I have a rate of 75 kwanzas, and it's very high. What criteria did Unitel use to define those rates, and why are they so high? They were like too costly, and surely I just use Unitel money just to have to buy my credits and maybe not withdraw money anymore. So thank you very much. Should I start from the fourth question? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I already read your articles that are on the LinkedIn. I think that the user, the new adopter, just the one that you already posted them. So just to be more precise, mostly on the rate criteria. The rates, just as you said, and you think, and you found them so high. Let's see it in whole. Because Unitel, as any other service provider, we also pay to have softwares, like to have licenses. We are like a company, but we have a company that is separated from Unitel. We are just service providers, and as service providers, we also depend on the central bank. And so, if it's in a kind of process of business, whenever you open an account, the maintenance on the account is also free of charge. Opening the bank account is also free of charge, and there are also some specific services, but when we're referring to taxes, or rates are mostly on the transactions and withdrawals. Actually, we are not charging the transactions. We just started charging the transactions because they were free of charge. They were like, but if you withdraw money from the ATM, it's 10%. So the 17 is far from the 10%. I do understand that. There might be a constraint because people have to pay for the service, but that's the only cost. And I won't even make some analysis because they are like different services. Unitel money is mostly to reach those people who are not having bank accounts. Maybe because they are not having IDs, or maybe they're living in very far areas. And we know that whenever you're opening a bank account, there are still some rates and costs, sometimes on maintenance and transactions rates and so forth. We are always paying, and sometimes we don't even not complain. And so now paying just to withdraw money, it's mostly related to a need that we need to pay for the agent that is doing the withdrawal, like we need to pay for us to get that service. So we have to pay because we also have the providers, and we have to pay for this kind of transactions. And so the Unitel money and all the mobile money services, they only work whenever there is money or volume. So this is like a volume business. So we are far from having profits, and that's not our main goal. So for any company, and whatever company is like having, the company just needs to be sure that the service is working and to ensure that the transaction is made effectively. And it may also serve those people who are not having any other way to withdraw money, or even have to have also other financial services. And so, just as the topic of our panel is how will it develop the African economy or the Angolan economy? Yes, it will develop because those people cannot access for not having a bank account. They can make transactions through their phones with very low rates, just like the 10%. Just said it was just said before, and they can also like deposit and withdraw money whenever they want to. And so they will be having also other kind of services, and these services like we can call them like financial services. We can say like loans and loans and all the other services. And so those people are having like mobile money services or account, they can even save more than one who is like, okay, I'm not saying that one, but who is included financially is more favorable and have more advantage than the one who is not involved. Because this service is mostly to serve and help those people who cannot have bank accounts. So, and it's different to the people here in the audience because many of you believe me, I believe that I have a bank account, but we need also to see on this perspective what is the aim for what's the reach of the Unitel mobile money is mostly for those people who do not have the access or do not even have the minimum requirements to have a bank account. Like they can just only have it through the ID or even a mobile as long as they have. I don't know whether I answered your question. So let's go to Africell. I will answer the question that is like, why do mobile money operators are doing? What are they doing apart from the social media marketing? Apart from the marketing, we also do awareness at the open markets, at the projects, at the places where people we go to home, schools, mostly to the people. We have to explain them how to operate, how to do the setup, how to set up the passwords, how to skip, how to save the passwords. So we've been having this awareness campaign, just as all of you are aware, and we're also having some partnerships with other institutions that are already like having education like health, awareness on education and health, so that in this process they can also share any other topic related or any other related topic that they will also discuss on mobile money. And so just like in a 2-month period, we know that it's like a few times, but we've been working on that, and we believe that in a couple of months we'll be having more clarity on these financial literacy and awareness to people and also our agents. That those will be like making the transactions and also deal with customers. And so I'd like also to have a detail on Dr. Antonieta's explanation, like regarding to the costs or the prices, because when you say that they are very expensive, maybe because you are comparing to the banks, there are different services because the banking operation is very different to the one we do on mobile. So whoever is doing that transaction maybe on the market, the operator has to pay for that. And so the source of the money is different because we cannot invest the money that we receive from the customer, straight from the customer. We cannot make savings, we cannot even give on loans or even deal with other players like the banks. So our revenue is very limited and we have just to charge on the transactions. Yeah, so when you make this comparison to the central bank and other former banks, but the question is how much is someone spending when he's going to withdraw money, because maybe he cannot have a cardless withdrawal. That's the one that normally people use. So sometimes he has to take a taxi and he has to pay for 150 to go and withdraw the money, and sometimes to pay to a nearest agent, and he will be pay. But if he paid like 70 kwanzas more comparing to one who is just agent, the nearest agent he might even spend less. So in this comparison, it's just an adding on the explanation that Dr. Antonietta has just said. So you also spoke on the mobile money as being like the more appropriate measure or tool for the system, that the non-banking system. So whenever we're not having so when we thought on mobile money, we said, okay, people are already using like phones. They can like make phone calls and so forth. Why don't we use something that's already in place instead and add also the banking? Because people are already speaking, and people do not need to be so literate to make a phone call and even text. So we just use the very tools they're already using, the availability of the digital services. That is the very starting point, because even this analog or even the smart ones is just to use this very channel to present new or financial services. So if we waited for the banks to get there only then, because those who are having like a physical or bank accounts, but they cannot even use like bank accounts, they could do the same way. So that's the reason, probably in a couple of months, maybe we won't be using mobile money as we're using nowadays. We should have like other platforms. But what we've been doing nowadays is to take advantage the most number of people that are already in the digital services and also add value on those people already using, maybe even those people who are using like in a shy way, not only for phone calls, but they also may use for banking services. I don't know whether I should also answer the other questions.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
The open banking part. So, so for example, now open banking, just for people that don't know in context what it is, it's an act of probably sharing data from, let's say, one point, let's call it through the use of APIs to other sources. So these are technologies that the ecosystem at large can leverage on. So let's say, for example, we have people who already have a bank account, for example, and they now want to probably open, they want to transact with any of the mobile operators. Instead of having to now going to do a new KYC account opening and the whole process for that person, leveraging on open banking enables them to get those data already from the existing place where it's domiciled, and ease the onboarding process. That's one, and it also is fraud in the system too. So I would relate this back to Nigeria, what happened last year, early this year, where the Syrian governor wanted to practice a naira reformation, and thereby it led to a very, very serious catastrophe. So what I'm trying to drive out is for open banking to work in a country like Angola, there has to be a very uniform collaboration between the CBN and the company, that's the solution provider. There has to be a very strong collaboration so that, we are trying to drive financial inclusion, right, to provide financial services to the unbanked, so that we won't have a scenario of where we are now unbanking the banked already, which was a sample of what happened in Nigeria, and that was because there was no solid uniform. It has been fixed already, and it has even made our own ecosystem stronger. So it's just another recommendation that the CBN needs to work hand in hand with the financial services, that's the company, the solution provider, to be able to drive good collaboration, to be able, in terms of regulation also, because there has to be regulation, number one, and it shouldn't be too stiffened to limit operations of the company also. So open banking, like you mentioned, it's something that it's going to help a lot in financial inclusion in the ecosystem at large. Thank you.
Então, se me permite, só para complementar as outras questões que eu não tinha referido, só comecei pela quarta. Portanto,
you also talk on the awareness, and we've been conducting workshops either with the young people. We had a project, and there was a fair that was conducted by the central bank, and mostly to get the young people, and also to have so that we could also work on the open markets, and because we are not just concerned on our image, but we also make some visits on the rural areas in which we have the civil or the traditional chiefs and other people, authorities, and because we also know that people are not having their bank account because they cannot. It's not because they do not want, or maybe they cannot afford it. Maybe they do not have enough money so that they can even have that bank account, or maybe they do not have enough documents or identification papers to open. And we know what happened, and why. That's why we even asked, why is the banking rate so low? And this mobile banking also came to overcome this situation, that people should not, the rate should not be very high. So as they cannot open the bank account, maybe we should do it, and also bring this financial inclusion. So the other topic that we also offered on the APIs, that my colleague has already talked, that we need a joint effort, and the Unitel Money, we have the APIs, firstly for payments, and whoever wants to join his e-commerce or website, whatever, he may just come and contact us, and then we can also join him through his IP. And then we will also be having like the IPs also for the cash-in and cash-out agents, and those who are very well organized, and also guarantee that it's also integrated to the Unitel Money services. I'd like also to apologize because I will just allow 4 more people to make questions, and maybe they should have 1 question each, because we were already warned about the time. So be short. And maybe Mr. I see Mr. sitting there at the back and others sitting on front. Good afternoon, Mario Silva. Is for the mobile money operators. As we see that we've been facing some difficulties on the communication means. I would like to know whether the infrastructure they're supporting such services is enough to support this kind of service, because we know they are very sensitive, and whatever failure, whatever error might even bring a chaos. And so we'd like to know whether if the infrastructure you're having is up to date and is enough to support the service you are providing. So the licensing process for an operator is done by criteria, and one of the criteria is to evaluate the platform you'll be using, and one of that is done by the central bank, and the central bank come and inspect and assess the bank to see whether the service you will provide, they are all safe and secure. For the mobile money officer, we are having like 3 markets, and we have enough time to test. We've been to market for 7 years, and we are using the very same platform we're using here. What we did is just to use the same. We just customized it because we had to translate it, because we've been using it in English-speaking countries, so we had to translate it into Portuguese. So we are comfortable, and we can even say that our platform is really up to date and is enough to support the service, and it was also validated by the central bank. So my name is Mario Aguiar. I'll make a question just like to tease and also bring something for discussion, mostly for Unitel and Africell. There is also a situation we've been living was regarding to the oil subsidies. And so there is a problem with the taxi drivers and also the motorbikers, and we know that the taxi drivers they will benefit a card of can I say like a subsidiary card, and we know that this is like a complex process as well, all because some people are no longer having their IDs or the according documentation. I don't know if they are not having their IDs. I'd like to ask, how are they going to have the card so that they can have the petrol as such? I'd like to open maybe a gap. Maybe is there any gap for Africell and Unitel, maybe to take into consideration and challenge this government perspective, maybe to bring some ease on these subsidies on the petrol and mostly like on the AfriCell money and Unitel, and it should be done on the platforms for your mobile money services. Isn't there any chance for you? Okay, thank you very much. It's a very great challenge. Unitel Money, as it was said, it's a government program from the Kwenda. It's the same. So the very same reason I believe, and it's one of the good tools that have been used in other countries that have been dealing with disasters and humanitarian issues, and so yes, we have the capacity to pay huge amounts in a very rapid or in a very quick way and safe. We can even send money to any and contact or telephone number. And on the Kwenda process of Kwenda program, we work together with the banks on paying these subsidies and paying these allowances and so forth. And so we are like available mostly to collaborate with the government if they ask us to, if they ask the service providers for this issue. So if it's like a matter of like sending money in the due time, we'll do it and we'll make the transaction immediately. So we have this capacity. Good afternoon. Major Zamba is my name. I'd like to congratulate the panelists, the facilitator, and the moderator and facilitator. I have a question for Unitel Money. Considering the weakness that we've identified, or the ones we'll be identifying, and opening some opportunities, and just a link to the one that has spoken before me. Well, I don't know your platform, but according to the explanation you've just made, I could also read a while. So in your business model, one of the issues that you have is to withdraw money that I have to go to an authorized agent, I think. And so I look to those people like who are in the rural areas, the difficulties that they are still facing. So on the financial inclusion, is the project going to grow, or is it still right just at the beginning? Maybe just in Luanda, maybe we should say like in Luanda, because our projects are very beautiful. They just start in Luanda and they die in Luanda. So what I've been seeing is just like, okay, now the other thing is on security. For someone to access the form, the application form, you have to download. And we also know that those information, sometimes they are also going to other database of other companies. And sometimes we might not even be secure enough because there are also other entities that sometimes we may even download some application form that maybe are not under your platform or Unitel platform. So what is the benefit or the security that you can even give to the final beneficiary? Like Unitel has already awarded us a lot of good services, but now we are even learning and seeing some weaknesses like weak signal and many others. And so, but there I'll see. But I'd like to know what's the guarantee in the future that we have. I'll be also very short and answering. To withdraw money, you just need to go to a Unitel shop or an authorized agent, and we have like more than 7,000 authorized agents spread all along the country. And we also know that also like some they already selling these credits and so forth. So what we are emphasizing them is for them to become also authorized agent on this mobile money. So they will also allow people to make some deposits or transactions. And so we are not only on the second anniversary, but we are doing it slowly and very precisely to have a solid system. And it's only to ask on the plurality and the spread of our service. And we are like on the biggest cities like Willa, Malange, and we have many other provinces in BA. BA is a very specific case that is being also during like the mobile money, Unitel mobile money. We are from north to south, east and west, all over the country. So now the second issue on the security, it's not only a matter of downloading. You can do it like star 444 dash. And then you can also use, you can even do like from iMac and Android, and you can do that from the Unitel shops and so forth. And we know that the country is too big, and we also have that even the provider is also, the service provider is also doing its best to make the whole country coverage. And so the unit to apply, the application form is free of charge. The only charges are on withdrawals and transactions. Matias Borges, National Director from ICT. We've been following the dynamics either from one operator and the other one. And we have a very big dream, though part of Unitel, the Unitel colleagues, Unitel has covered quite a lot, a big part of that, and thinking on the digitalization of the country, that through a mobile you can even go to a shop and pay and make payments and even access to some services. So, and we expected that what Unitel has been having already in the market, maybe we should have from the big shop, like supermarkets like Kero and the others, that we should be paying Unitel and AfriCell on those shops. Maybe until when, or how far are you from there? Because on these like business or lobbies, people should not be carrying cash, and we should have like a lot of facility, and people should even make these online payments as well. But until when? If the central bank is also having a strategy on promoting these kind of services as well. Well, I should answer. Unitel is available for all the stakeholders and all the partners, and we've been like also trying to contact them. And apart from the Unitel shops and DSTV, like DSTV we're already having, and now we're having the taxi drivers, we have the Tupuka, the online shops, on the library and so forth. We've been having like many other businesses that are available on the Unitel money. So the big retail shops, I know that they are all of them. We've been like advertised to all of them also to be involved, because these retail shops, they also need to have these integrated services. And as I just said, there are some IPs for others like Kero, Kandadu, ShopRite, Areo, all these supermarkets, they can also join and integrate on the services. We've been, sometimes we don't even go to certain places because we've been there before, and sometimes we don't even go to certain places because we can even pay just on Unitel money, and even on restaurants. We go and we have dinner and lunch without money because we just pay through our mobile services. And there are also some other shops that are having the very same service and solutions. And also the big companies, also they can also be aware of the advantage and acknowledge the advantage. Not only the payments, but all the logistic payments are going to be less costly, because whenever we are doing these digital payments, we have the IPs that are ready, and these IPs will be available for whoever. We have some pilot projects, and we have some small business that are already joining us, but to make it big, they need to integrate these services on their payment services as well. Just adding on the AfriCell, on the AfriMoney, we are also in the same process to have some partnerships with these entities, mostly to facilitate the payment of services. And also, I'd like also to bring a challenge, mostly for the public entities, because there is quite a lot of money that have been spread like in cash, and that through this platform that are already into place, we could like pay taxes, we could pay quite a lot of services that are nowadays on demand, like banking deposit, that we should even make these payments through this platform or channel that is mobile money. There is also this challenge that we need this acceptance, because if we need to grow, we want to grow, we need also to have this acceptance from the public sector, because to see that this is a feasible service. And so at the beginning was that the biggest factor was like the trust, and this trust should be mitigated if I can pay a tax, consumption tax through my e-wallet. And so, just as what we just said, is like the people should accept and see it as a channel to facilitate whatever will be the feasible of the system. We are doing our part, and obviously we are just like small. We've just started, and we believe just in a couple of months we'll be getting bigger and bigger, and we will be able to answer this question until when this will go. Okay, well, I think we could even spend 1 or 2 or 3 hours more to discuss on this topic, because there are still a lot to be said. But in summary, it's like everything starts with a project until they get their maturity, and for them to attain their maturity, they take quite a long time. There are some resources like training, capacity building, human resources, and all these things will be available depending on the strategy for each institution. And just as the audience have asked and demanded, that the effort should be even greater, that we truly should acknowledge that truly our population, though, is not having too many banking services. At least some of them, surely they are not having their IDs. So it's also needed that we need tools like Unitel mobile money and these mobile money services. One of the issues also on the awareness, capacity building, and also the literacy to our people that is very low, that you need to invest a little bit more. So I'd like to ask for a round of applause to all the panelists. And also challenge the Ministry of Science and Technology to conduct some more events like this, like with Central Bank, Unitel, Africell, and other stakeholders, and also bring Dr. David also, so that we may discuss even widely about this topic. So thank you very much, and have a good day. Thank you.